around him in a bad line, et cetera. So I'm not ready to throw Kessler on the scrap heap. I think he's the best we've got right now, and I think for a rookie, he's performing admirably, and he does show that he can throw the ball accurately.
Right, he's in that place that has me going, what would he look like on a good team? Like, could he, I mean, you wonder if he was on the Patriots, if he had a competent offense in this offensive line, I mean, could he thrive? And I see the accuracy. I see the toughness. I will say that. I mean, obviously, looking at a guy like McCown has rubbed off on him because this kid takes some shots and gets up and says, hey, that's what we do. And that's – people go, why do you keep Josh McCown on your roster? A, because he's better than people think he is. And B, because he's a tough son of a gun. And every one of those 18 rookies – by the way, off topic, last week – the Browns' 53-man roster had 18 first-year players on it, the most any team in the NFL has suited up on a Sunday since 2010. That's 18 first-year players. That's amazingly a level of rookiness. Like, that is truly just wiping the slates clean. But, you know, it makes me wonder what perhaps he could do.
And you're doing without
everything.
Would otherwise without Corey Coleman and
with Ricardo Lewis at wide receiver.
Maybe Higgins can help you.
What was his name?
I think Ricardo. What do you have? 3 drops Sunday? I was listening on the radio, so I still haven't.
Ricardo Lewis had 3 drops. Yeah, Lewis had 3 drops. What was the tight end's name that had the touchdown? I mean, there's literally you need a roster to know who these cats even are that are out there.
Oh yeah, even the guys that sit with us at the stadium every Sunday, we're looking at each other going, who was that guy? Who was that defensive lineman we just saw? Who was that linebacker? Yeah. Every week we're seeing people that they're doing some shuffling at the bottom of that roster, and maybe even in the middle of that roster. Who knows? But
I mean, I will say this, Dan. If nothing else, the Browns have unearthed Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor can definitely continue to get better. I mean, I think we've only scratched the surface. Whether it's here or somewhere else, that guy's going to be a legit receiver in the NFL going forward.
I completely agree. I'm surprised at the hands. He's got great hands, and
yes.
We didn't know that, and you don't ever know that until you put it to the test out there and throw him some alley-oops and see how he goes up and gets the ball and holds on to it. He's been spectacular with his hands and much better at running routes and getting both feet in bounds and, dotting the I's with the toes and that sort of thing. Way better than I expected to see. And, boy, I sure hope he's here and not somewhere else because, with him and Coleman and whomever else we can add to that mix, you've made a terrible receiving core into a decent one.
I got to ask you, here we sit at the, 0-6 portion of things here. 0-16. How realistic is that at this point? Because I think joking at the beginning of the season is one thing. Truly, it is hard to spot where this team is going to win a game.
Well, they play the Jets.
Yes, and the Jets are a mess. Absolutely.
There's hope there. The Jets are a dumpster fire. And they play a Benless Steelers team.
I don't think that
coming
matters.
Up here
I don't think
pretty
that
soon.
matters.
I don't know about that. You don't foresee a win against the Steelers.
No, even
I don't know if I
Ben.
can.
No.
It's just that there's so many mediocre teams in the NFL, and the Browns have been basically right in 4 of their 6 games.
But they keep losing guys. They keep
with chances to win. They haven't been able to finish, and that's something that you learn how to do. It's not something you know how to do when you're playing 18 rookies.
Well,
but I don't think they'll go winless. I really don't. I saw a T-shirt at the Tribe game the other day. The Browns putting the 0-16 in 2016.
Yeah, in 2016, yeah.
But which I thought was cute.
Here's my thing, Dan, and this is why I think it is possible, is because I agree that they're fighting and you do eventually learn how to win, but the rate of attrition is just staggering. You lost Poyer. You got another guy went down, the other backup defensive back. I mean, now you're signing street free agents, and that number 18 is going to get even bigger as the season goes on. When I said that goes back to 2010, that was a Week 17 Tampa Bay team, just throwing every rookie out there in the last week of the season. I mean, for the Browns to be 18 rookies on the 53-man roster in 6 weeks into the season. I think as you keep losing guys, and now you're down to your second stringers and they're going down, that attrition on top of it, I think is what's going to make even winning 1 or 2 games difficult, because even as you guys are fighting and scrapping, they're losing guys by the boatload every week.
Yeah, that's true. And I've seen a little bit of talk this week on Twitter mostly about, why is it? Why is it that the Browns have so many injuries? Is it the strength and conditioning program? Are their fingers being pointed, and are they pointed in the right direction, et cetera? I think we've always seen, and we've commented before, about how losing teams tend to have more injuries than others.
Absolutely, and players cash in a little quicker. People
who are just checking out, who might on a winning team suck it up and play, who aren't doing that on a losing team.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's even a factor with this group. I like the attitude of this group. I like the way that they've hung in games and come back when they're down a touchdown or two and gotten back in games. And no, they haven't finished, but, I think we talked last week about we can definitely see the difference in the Hugh Jackson coach team versus the Mike Pettin coach teams and the, Shermer coach teams and all the other rummies we've had in here. I think we can tell the difference of, we can, it's noticeable. And that's why people that are down on Hugh Jackson, especially down on Hugh Jackson for the decision he made about the 2-point conversion, need to just get a life. This is your guy. He's going to be your guy. I think he's the right guy. And, you can save your second guessing.
Yeah, I agree about Hugh Jackson. I second guessed it too myself. I'm not going to lie.
Oh yeah. And it's different.
In fairness, I also forward guessed it. When they lined up, I said, this is a mistake. They should kick the field goal right here. So I didn't wait until after they missed it. I said, no, what are you doing? Because I knew if you don't get it, the game is over. There's no chance. And then, of course, the Browns would get the onside kick.
Right, and they say, Jerry, that, obviously statistically, there's no better chance you're going to score the 2-point conversion at one point than you would on the other touchdown.
Very true.
But the difference is, to me, the way the defense plays you the rest of the game.
Yep.
The defense is going to play differently when they're up 9 than they would if they're up 8.
Absolutely.
And so that does change everything from that point in the game. When they're up 9, it's a much more relaxed prevent kind of style defense than they would be if they're up 8.
And Dan, I got to tell you, it was not total Browns that they get it. Of course, after they missed the 2-point conversion, then they masterfully come up with the onside kick, and you go, well, of course they did. And they're going to score the touchdown, too, because this is what we do. Hey, I know you're pressed for time, but I got to talk Buckeyes with you for a minute. I was so frustrated the other night driving through Pennsylvania. I literally got every freaking college football game out there except the Buckeyes at one point, right as the game is in its crucial point. I had to follow driving. Now, I don't recommend this for safety purposes, but I had to follow the little ESPN Gamecast thing on my phone during parts of the mountains, right as it's getting down to overtime. I'm like, I finally got the game back in for overtime and was able to listen to the Buckeyes with the touchdown to Brown and holding on there for the win. What a game, though. Good battle of 2 top 10 teams.
Yeah, it really was. It was exciting, and it really showed toward the end. J.T. Barrett, ice water in the veins. I mean, I was out of town. I was down at my son's place. We were watching the game together on Saturday night, and that kid, when it's 3rd and 2 or whatever, and you're going for you're inside the 10-yard line, and you're going for the touchdown instead of going for the first down. Two 4th down conversions in that last drive, then the overtime, just a real nail biter. It's a tough place to play in Madison, and they're better than I thought. They obviously had played well. They've now lost 2 games to the number 2 and number 3 teams in the country, and only lost by 7 points to each of them. So,
and Dan, that's what worried me coming in, because they had the run against some good teams, and I said, I think the Buckeyes are falling right into place as the team that they may be ready to knock off.
Yeah, and of course, you had the revenge factor. They're still ticked off about 59-0. a couple of years ago, and we didn't get them last year. So this is their first chance to get back at us for that debacle in the Big Ten title game 2 years ago. And they're always a handful up there in Madison. I was there in 2010 when they knocked us off and we were number one. Ran the opening kickoff back for a touchdown and never trailed in the whole game. And we were number one team in the country at the time. So you could see it all playing out that same way. And they're a good team. That defense is much better than I thought they'd be. And Buckeyes weren't getting good separation with their receivers. And, ultimately the team with the better talent won the game. But, man, stressful getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first, real big test of the season, they've got a couple of big ones left. Penn State coming up now on the road. What do you think here? Any chance for the Nittany Lions to nip the Buckeyes?
I don't think so, Jerry. I think they'll make it a game for a half too, but I just think the talent differential is too great. It reminded me of the game Saturday reminded you of the game last time we were in Happy Valley with the walk-off sack. Same thing they did Saturday. Sack and Hackenberg to end the game, Joey Bosa making that play. But they've got a really, really good running back. Saquon Barkley is the real deal. He torched them for almost 200 yards last year in Columbus. They took them to overtime, double overtime last time we were playing up there. But they have been playing better, but they've got new coordinator. The quarterback has been playing well for them. I just don't think the talent's there. Another tough environment, but the Buckeyes are used to this, going on the road, playing at night, in hostile venues. This is not something that I think really plays with the Ohio State players' heads. I mean, they're so well coached, and they've just played so many big games. They're in big games all the time. They're on national TV practically every week. So I don't think that's going to faze them. I think 10 points at least, a win on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. Coming out of the fire last week, I think they handled the Nittany Lions and then Northwestern, and then you got that 4-game stretch at the end of the season that looms even larger now. You look at how Nebraska's playing. I mean, they're a top 10 team. Maryland and then Michigan State, no matter what the record is always going to be a test on the road. And then Michigan, I mean, definitely the Buckeyes make it through that run there. I mean, they are definitely bona fide, legitimate, coming through as a contender to win this thing.
Everybody's asking me if they think the Buckeyes can go undefeated, and my answer is the same. They're certainly talented enough to do it, and they'll be favored, I think, in every game. But, Jerry, the last 2 seasons in college football, there's 128 teams in college football in FBS, and nobody's gone undefeated for the last 2 seasons. 0 out of 256 teams have won all their games in the season. So it's just too hard to do, and so for that reason alone, I don't even know where that loss is going to come from, but I think they're going to drop one just because the numbers say they will. It hasn't been done in 2 full seasons anywhere in college football in the Division I, so it's probably not going to happen again this year.
The 2 bigger ones are at home, so I don't know. I mean, to me, as like I said, record is what it is. I know Michigan State's 2-4 on the season,
right?
But, that's always a tough one to go on the. To me, if there's one that you get tripped up on that you're not expecting, that one always looms as a possibility. But right now, it's Penn State.
Well, yeah, and like you say, Urban Meyer has lost 4 games since he's been at Ohio State. This is his 5th season. He's lost 4 games. 2 of them are to Michigan State. So, they've, D'Antonio could legitimately say he's got Urban Meyer's number.
You could dial them up for that game, obviously, pretty well when they play the Buckeyes. But right now it's Penn State, and we'll see what the Buckeyes do next week. You and I can talk about that one. Next week, you and I are hopefully talking about one of the greatest nights in Cleveland sports history, theoretically next Tuesday. And matter of fact, as I say that, I just got an alert that ticket prices on the secondary market are dropping for the Cavaliers opener with the anticipation of the Indians World Series game being across the way over there. What an amazing night that could possibly be 6 days from today as we do this live.
ring night at the Q, and a World Series game at the
and not just ring night, but inside the NBA. TNT's bringing the whole deal down to Cleveland. They're going to have their whole studio show outside in the plaza. They've got Wiz Khalifa and a big concert coming down. So potentially you'll have 2 big national studio shows happening in the plaza, one outside the Q, one outside Progressive Field at the same time. The whole national sports world focused on Cleveland more than ever at any other time. So amazing. Dan's speechless. Are you there, Dan? You're cutting out on us again, brother.
Wait, thanks so much. I'll catch up to you next week.
Oh, there you are. All right, Dan, take it easy, my friend. Dan Wismar, we're losing him there at the end, and he had to roll anyway. It will be potentially an amazing night. Dan will be with us next Wednesday. You guys be with us as well. I will be down there. I know so many of you guys will as well. I'm going down just to be in the throng, in the mix. I want to be down there and just feel the atmosphere next Tuesday night as the Indians – knocking on that wood, baby, as the Indians are on one side of the plaza kicking off the World Series, and the Cavaliers and the whole fever that comes with starting another season and getting those rings and all of that down there. Speaking of getting those rings, the Monsters the other day, they now renamed Cleveland Monsters, by the way, got those rings and had that banner trophy ceremony the other day as they kicked off their season as well. Can't wait to get rocking and rolling, talking some Monsters hockey throughout the season as well. Like, we're going to get it. Yeah, the music's playing. We're going to call it one here. Short episode of the show, but thank you guys so much for being with us. If you like what you heard, share the show. Let somebody else find out what we got going on here. Click the little share link on whatever device you're listening to us and share it. Let somebody else take a listen to the Sports Fix. Next week, we'll be back. Cleveland will be the center of the sporting world, and we will be here to talk about it with Dan Wismar, talking Cavs and Indians and Buckeyes and Browns, and BJ Riddell will be here in the house. Fantasy football for winners like we always do, and so much more. We'll open up the phones to you guys. I cannot wait. Until then, enjoy the next few days. And however long it takes the Indians to do this thing, if it comes back to Cleveland, it's going to be raucous down at the Progressive Field here for Game 6 or 7. And then the World Series, baby. I cannot wait to talk to you guys about it. Can't wait for us all to experience it. We'll see what happens. Game 5 on tap next, and the rest of it will roll on. We got big games this weekend with the Buckeyes. Got Browns and Bengals is always fun, even if the Browns stink. A lot of great sports coming up. Cleveland, enjoy it. And then get back here with us next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, live, noon next Wednesday, here across the Sports Fix Radio Network. We love you, Cleveland and beyond. Go Tribe! We'll see you next week, live, right here on the Sports Fix.
So hopefully we overcome. Yes, I have a dream, and I know I ain't the only one. Modell tried to steal my heart, but we brought it back. Thanks to Cleveland Clinic, now they call them kids to cardiac. Rock Cars, Science Center, Tower City, all of that. Warehouse District, Euclid Corridor, and all the flat. You know that I'm a Tribes fan, and I love Slimans. Crockett Park's the perfect place for me to spend some time in. Baby, this is Cleveland. It is so much more to us. You can even go to Severance Hall to see an orchestra. Hey.
Yeah. Blue lights separate the grind from the gritty. We're sick-fitted. Hood pass cover any city that we visited. When the up on Cleveland. Survival's a must on these streets. We hustle, don't sleep. Out here in Cleveland, Cleveland, Cleveland.
You know that I'm from
long nights, cold weather, it ain't nothing pretty. So much hate up in this itty bitty city. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Put your hands up in the air, everybody say yeah, yeah, yeah.